It can be awkward to start a conversation with a native speaker in Spanish. So, in this episode, I'm going to talk about some different conversation starters that helped me overcome this fear, break the ice, and help solve this problem. So, let's get into it. Hi, I'm Michael Harper, and welcome to the Michael Harper Spanish Podcast. I was able to learn Spanish within a matter of months, and my goal now is to help show you how you can do the same. If you haven't already, be sure to sign up for my free masterclass where I show you exactly how I was able to learn Spanish and become fluent within a matter of months, the method that I used, what I did and did not focus on, and the best resources to practice and learn Spanish. It's 100% free. All you've got to do is head on over to michaelharperspanish.com to sign up now, or you can click on the link that'll be in the description. Can't wait to see you there. So obviously, if you want to go out into the world and have conversations with people in Spanish to practice, it's not likely that you're going to just walk up to someone and be like, hey, let's practice Spanish because I'm learning and you speak it. You know, it's kind of awkward to do that. So instead, I'm going to lay out 3 different scenarios that you'll likely find yourself in and some great little conversation starters to help break the ice. The first scenario is we're going to pretend that you're in a Spanish-speaking country, and this is obviously going to be probably the easiest way to having a conversation with a native speaker. It's obviously much easier. So one of the ways that I like to do it is, let's just say I'm at, a coffee shop or a store or really anywhere, even on the street. You can easily just ask someone, hey, what do you recommend that I do here? Or, hey, I'm new here. What are some of the best things to see? Or, are you from here? I love asking people, especially whenever I travel to Spain, if they're originally from the city that we're in. I'll say, hey, you're from Spain, right? Oh, well, what part of Spain did you grow up here? Or are you from another city? A lot of times, especially in a country like Spain, people will have grown up in a different city, which means if they are from a different city, you can simply ask, oh, what's worth seeing there? Why did you move here? Or should I go visit the city that you grew up in? And they'll likely give you a whole lot of information, and people love talking about where they're from and just talking about themselves in general. So when in doubt, always just get people to talk about themselves and show a genuine interest in what they're saying. If they say that they like to go to the movies, ask them what their favorite type of movie is. If they talk about where they grew up, ask them, what did you like to do when you grew up? Or, what was your favorite place to eat where you grew up? There's so many different paths that you can go down in that conversation just from that one simple conversation starter. I think the key to it really is finding a conversation starter that can lead to other conversations and can lead to other questions that you can ask those people. And let's say that they originally grew up in the city that you're in. Well, just ask them, what are the best things to do in the city that we're in? Where are the best places to eat? What are the best tourist attractions? Where's the best place to go out at night? So many different things you can do. The second situation is, I like to call it the Walmart situation. Basically, when you're just out and about, let's say you're at a Walmart or even getting your oil changed or just at some store in general. Let's say you notice at the Walmart, for example, that you know that there's someone who likely speaks Spanish, or maybe you overhear them. Let's say they're looking at the bread. I don't know. You go up to them and you can ask in English at first, hey, there's a lot of choices, or I don't know, what's your favorite type of bread? Or maybe I pick up a bread and I go, hey, have you tried this one before? And maybe they'll speak perfect English, maybe they don't. Whatever they respond to you, you can follow up like, oh, where are you from, by the way? There's a bunch of YouTube videos of a guy who used to do this all the time. He was a polyglot. He spoke like 10 different languages that at least he was trying to learn. And he'd go to Walmarts all the time and just ask people where they were from after having a little icebreaker in English. And then he'd immediately go into speaking their foreign language. And they would always be super happy and thrilled to help him out and to practice that language with them. So let's say I ask someone in Spanish who's a Spanish speaker where they're from, and they say a Spanish-speaking country like Mexico, Colombia, Venezuela, wherever they're from. you can then go, oh, hablas español, you speak Spanish. Or I could say, yo estoy aprendiendo español, I'm learning Spanish. And 9 times out of 10, they'll be super happy to hear that. They'll think it's the coolest thing in the world that an American is speaking to them in Spanish. And whether you're an American or not, it's just cool when someone else speaks your own native language. So they'll likely start speaking in Spanish with you, and you can have a short little conversation there. And it really is a great confidence booster, and it's just a great way to have a conversation and start up one at a place like a Walmart when you're just out and about, especially in a country that's not a Spanish-speaking country. The other situation you could maybe find yourself in is if someone's maybe at like the customer service desk at a Walmart, or, just in need of some translation. Maybe it's a Spanish speaker that doesn't speak English. You can offer your help. After all, that's the reason that you're learning Spanish, is to be able to communicate with people and be able to offer help in those types of situations. I can't tell you how many times I've offered to help translate to a Spanish speaker who didn't have the best English. Oftentimes they'll be really grateful that you're there, because it's hard for them to be in that situation where they need to communicate but they just can't, and then you can help kind of bridge that gap. Even if your Spanish is not perfect, between maybe your broken Spanish and their broken English, you can get somewhere, and it's great practice for you, so you both kind of get something out of it. Now, the third situation you could find yourself in is when you're online and talking to people online, which is what I highly recommend. There's so many different ways to find people to talk with online nowadays and practice your Spanish, so it can be awkward, though, when even if it's online and not even face-to-face, to have a conversation, to start one, and to have a conversation that keeps on going. Because it's really common to maybe meet someone online and you send them a message or even have some sort of phone call with them, and a lot of times the conversation will be along the lines of, hey, how are you? I'm good. What do you do? This, where are you from? Okay, cool. And the conversation kind of just dies there. And we don't want that. Here's what I like to do. I like to ask genuine questions. What are your hobbies? Let's take that question, for example. I'll ask someone, what do you like to do in your free time? What are your hobbies? But don't just ask this and then say, oh, cool, I like to do that too, or I've never done that. And then that's where the conversation ends, because that's awkward. Let's say someone says that their favorite hobby is to listen to music. Ask them, what kind of music do you listen to? Feel free to make fun of it. If it's not music you're into, be like, really? I hate that type of music. Or, oh, wow, I love that type of music. What's your favorite artist? What artist would you recommend me listen to? I don't like that music, but I like this type of music. Which leads me to my next point, which is plan the conversation that you're going to have beforehand. Make up a pretend conversation in your head with the most likely responses that they're going to give to you, and with the most likely things that you can say back to them. Let's say that I like to play golf, which I do. Instead of me just saying to someone, I like to play golf. Okay, cool. Me gusta jugar al golf. Like, whatever. Who really cares? How about I think of different ways to elaborate on that? I could say, I like to play golf. Every time I play golf, I lose like 15 balls. I always hit the balls into the water. I always hit them into the trees. I'm not very good at golf. Or I could say I want to take golf lessons. I want to buy new golf clubs. It's an expensive sport. There's so many good places to play golf in my city. Are there places to play golf where you're from? I just said like 10 different things based on that one interest of mine. And typically with one of those points, once you start getting that flow of the conversation going, they'll add in different things. And it's fun to do that. And it's an easy way for you to always have something to talk about. Plan out how to say those things. Write them down on a piece of paper. That way, instead of you having to translate over every other word when you're trying to talk, it keeps the conversation quicker and it flows better because you already know what to say. You had it written down or you already had it in your head. I recommend you doing that with any of those 3 scenarios that I just gave you, but make sure that you have this all planned out beforehand. It'll just help. It's not necessary, of course, but it really does get you the best practice possible. Thanks for listening. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please be sure to give me an honest review. Go ahead and download and follow the podcast if you're listening on Spotify. If you're on YouTube, be sure to subscribe for more videos in the future. Again, if you're serious about learning Spanish this year and want to be fluent within the shortest amount of time possible, learn how I was able to do it with my free masterclass. All you've got to do is go to michaelharperspanish.com to sign up for that. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next one.